Well, it's great to have one celebrity who's not a mad lefty. Former Neighbours star Holly Valance has teamed up with One Nation leader Pauline Hanson to release a song. They released it on Australia Day, which mocked the snowflakes and the woke culture. Within hours, it soared up to the top of the iTunes charts. Have a listen.
Diabolical, lefty, a real diabolical, lefty ideology, feeding hate in me, I'll intimidate, I'll indoctrinate, I'm a real diabolical, lefty, a real diabolical, lefty. Check your bias at the door, liberty, we identify as them.
Then it was cancelled by iTunes, so it got even more publicity. Then it was reinstated by iTunes. Joining us now from London is singer and actress Holly Valance. Holly, so great to see you. Thanks for coming on Outsiders. Been a big fan of all the things you've been doing recently, particularly this. It's sensational. Tell us how you came to be involved with One Nation and doing the song, and what's it been like refashioning it and seeing it soar to the top of the Australian charts.
It's been accidental and really, really fun. And being cancelled was probably my first cancellation, actually, I think. It's quite fun. I enjoyed it. And I've been enjoying receiving all the sort of hater Instagrams and people moaning about it. It just helps me sleep at night. I love it.
Rita.
This is what I love about you, because so many in the celebrity world are terrified of that backlash from the left, because they can be vicious. They can just flood your social media with the most horrific hate. But you just brush that off. It does not impact you at all.
There's something bigger, at play, and it sort of is symbolic of something more important than, like a silly cartoon jingle. The guys from Please Explain got in contact to ask me to do 20 seconds to introduce the trans character Stacey, and I thought that would be fun. And we made it quite good. And they're like, "Can you finish the song? And then we can use it in the credits." And I was like, "Okay." And while I was in the studio, we were laughing because we were hysterically trying to record this thing, so many mucked up takes. And then we were like, imagine if this charted and people actually listened to it and played it. That would just be hilarious. And we're like, nah, it'll just disappear. It's a bit of fun to be involved in, and then we'll see what happens. But it's I couldn't have written it better myself.
Yeah, indeed, James.
Well, I mean, Holly, I wouldn't dismiss this as a mere jingle. This is great high art, and it is hilarious. And I want to just
very highbrow,
very highbrow. But I want to hear more about this sort of cancellation that took place, because to me, this says that there's something a lot deeper out there in the culture. Because when iTunes did what companies like iTunes do and took it off, there was a huge uproar. And it was this sort of Streisand effect sort of thing where everybody heard about it and created more publicity for it. But people really came to your defense. Do you sense something going on bigger in the culture here in Australia around these things?
Strange. Yeah, and I was talking to a few girlfriends at home about it, and I was like, do you realise how bad this is, what it actually means that they would take this down? Because there's nothing particularly violent or horrific about it. I'm not really swearing. I'm not endorsing rape and drug dealing and anything that's sort of horrific. And all those kinds of songs still happily still sitting there on iTunes. And it's like, yeah, well, those are okay, because if you just sort of dumbed down and sitting there all day listening to stupid stuff, not thinking for yourself and not having sort of broader look at what's really going on in your country, my old country, and this one here. It's been a interesting social experiment, an accidental one.
Now, Holly, I want to ask you about, you have been very outspoken in your political views, which has been fantastic. You're a breath of fresh air. You've been associated with Reform. Nigel Farage, who's a good friend of the show and a good friend of mine, speaks very, very highly of you and enjoys your support. What is it like? So there are obvious similarities between One Nation in Australia and Reform in Britain. How do you see those similarities, and what's your sort of political take on both Britain and Australia as regards, immigration, climate change, those sorts of things?
They're both similar in that they're giving you permission to put ourselves first, put Aussies first, I think that's really important. And I think in the West, it's just waned for such a long time. Everyone else counts except, the people from that country. And people have had enough. And so I think the days of that are fairly numbered, but we've still got, like, you guys have a little bit of time left to go. And so do we here with the next election coming. And it's just like, well, how do we get through the next few years and navigate that? Because it's fairly putrid walking around the streets of London these days. I don't know if any of you've come lately, but it's unrecognisable. And we have to stop being polite now about it because we just don't have the time.
And you've mentioned your kids coming home from school, and it's certainly the case here in Australia, or you've mentioned kids coming home from school, indoctrinated with kind of climate change dogma. And tell us about how your fears that they don't have a future. They're taught they don't have a future.
I'm their fave mum. I ruin all the stuff that they get up to. No, we had like a third-party educator try and come in a couple of years ago to one of the schools. No one did any due diligence, and I went through and read all their textbooks in 2 days and asked for all their worksheets, which they couldn't give because they said they could be misconstrued if they weren't said the way they meant to say them. I'm like, I don't know about that. I just know that my year 4 child doesn't need to know about. I won't even go into it because I don't know what the ratings are for the time that were on TV. But suffice to say, I had them fired and then proceeded to get them fired at most schools in London, because that stuff doesn't belong in, certainly not primary schools and really not high schools. That's parents' jobs, what we want to teach our children. So, yeah, I'm probably a school's nightmare, to be honest, but I'm never going to regret that. I'm only going to regret not saying something, and the damage is already done. They can never unhear it. They can never unknow concepts that they have no business knowing as children. Like stick to science and maths and PE and fun things.
Rita?
Well, it would be great if more parents had a look at the curriculum that closely. Now, tell me if you're hearing from other people who are high profile like yourself who agree with you but are too frightened to voice their opinions publicly.
Yeah, it happens all the time, and I'm in a different position, so I don't want to judge them too badly because they're answering to a network, they're answering to a record label. I'm in a different position, so I've still got a voice, so to speak, a little bit in the industry, although I'm not working for anybody. So I understand that it's difficult for them to do it, but I just wish a few more would, because they really do agree with a lot of the stuff that you guys talk about, a lot of stuff I talk about. And if everyone just took the plunge, they'd realise not that scary. Nothing happens.
And Holly, just quickly before you go, your message to your Australian fans.
Oh, I want to say thank you so much for helping with the song, passing it on to friends. I've had so many screenshots sent to me from friends, cousins, or the guy that works at the kebab shop that have thought it was a hoot. And that's what it should be. Everybody's picked on equally. And go and see the film. It is really actually hysterical, and it's a really good fun watch.
Holly Valance, thanks so much for staying up and chatting to us on Outsiders, and keep up the great work.